And welcome. It's Mary Ellen McGonagle here with your Friday afternoon MEM Edge show. As always, this is the show where we bring you where the price action is in the broader markets. We are seeing rotation shape up. I'm going to get into that as far as nice movement in growth stocks. Other areas are starting to percolate up as well. In general, we are seeing a nice broadening out. We're going to take a look at that, as well as alerting you to some of the news last week that drove price action. We did get key inflation data, PPI and CPI data, and overall, the news was good as two key elements of those inflation data points were constructive as far as the prices receding. Now, we did see interest rates drop immediately, but we are seeing a little bit of uptick there as well. We're going to take a look at that yield on the 10-year. Of note is the fact that next week we are going to get the FOMC meeting notes from the Federal Reserve's latest meeting that could easily be market moving. We also have key earnings. NVIDIA is due to release their earnings. I'm going to share with you some other impactful companies that are going to be reporting, because it's all about, again, this rotation that is seemingly taking place, and these are going to be key data points for next week. So let's go ahead and jump right in, take a look at how we close the week. And here we are. This is a daily price chart of the S&P 500. And as highlighted here, we hit a new high in price last week, and that is quite constructive as it relates to further possible upside. We don't have that upside resistance that we had down in this period in late April. Also, we have a positive RSI and MACD. So that uptrend very firmly in place. I'm highlighting here that last week we did experience what's called a golden cross formation, and that's when this shorter term 10-day simple moving average closed above the 50-day. And that's not a very common occurrence. When it does take place, take note, I did write about this in my MEM Edge report last Sunday. You only need to go back to this November period, and you'll see the significance at this particular point in time. Now, from here, let's go ahead and take a look at the underlying sectors within the broader markets. And I've gone ahead and added an RSI indicator. This is a 2-month daily price chart view, and we are seeing a sort of these 11 sectors strength to weakness. So as we can see, utilities still up here at the forefront. Now, they did perform in line with the broader markets, a nice 1.4% rally, but that uptrend very firmly in place, and a number of reasons here that I, again, talk about in my report, but it does have to do with AI-related activity that is propelling interest in these stocks, and also improving the growth outlook for several select names in there. Also up here at the forefront, take a look. We are continuing to see this nice downtrend reversal that's shaping up here in the healthcare sector. We had a nice gap up into a continuation rally with these momentum indicators now in positive territory, particularly this MACD. So this is part of what I'm referencing as far as rotation shaping up, and also the fact that we are seeing some of these areas that were down and out coming into play. Of note here is technology continuing to remain somewhat up here at the forefront. It had been languishing down in this lower quartile. Let's take a look at XLK. This is another area that did move back above its key 50-day simple moving average into a nice uptrend with bullish momentum indicators. Also of note, I do want to share with you this move into REIT stocks. This is XLRE, and I'm going to share with you a couple of names in this group. It is definitely worth noting this downtrend reversal with this gap up. This gap up is in line with that drop in interest rates, and that is a period when these REIT stocks can excel. We have that MACD just now coming into positive territory. Also, you do want to be aware of those weaker areas. This is XLY. Consumer discretionary stocks continuing to flatline here. And of note, last week, we did get a weak retail sales data report. So that is an area that is faltering a bit, still remaining down in that lower quartile. From here, let's go ahead and move forward. Take a look beyond these sectors. We want to get a better sense beneath the surface. It's important to note that sector. You want to make sure you're in those stronger areas because it does account for about 25% of your stock prices move either to the upside or down. And then that group affiliation is going to be equally critical. So again, 2-month daily price chart view, relative strength indicator. So we're sorting it from strength up here to weakness down in that lower right quartile. Let's take a look. I did want to highlight this is an area I talked about before, and that is biotechs. I use IBB, the biotech ETF. You can see it's up above that 50-day and by and large continuing to trend upward, up about 2.5%. Pointing this out because a move into biotechnology oftentimes signals investor confidence. This is an area where the number of names that are actually reporting earnings is very, very small. So they are riskier by nature. So good to see that group coming into play. Now let's move into this talk about rotation and some of these areas that are coming back into favor. And this, for me, is very exciting. It's IGB, the software ETF. When you can get this move right and get those stocks right, you can see the advance can really be significant. It's one of many growth areas that I specialize in. I did begin adding new names earlier this week to the suggested holdings list, but take a look. This gap up with the IGB ETF now back above that 50-day simple moving average. Of note, we got some nice high volume, and now we have that MACD up here in positive territory, joining a positive RSI. Now, this is an area that we are going to see some key earnings releases coming out, and I will share those with you as we move through. Also of note is the fact semiconductors. Now, they did inch up above that 50-day simple moving average. This is SOXX. But we got more of an advance, which for me is providing more confidence. This is a smaller area, about 101 semiconductor stocks that are publicly traded. And you do need to be selective. There are key areas in semiconductors. And then likewise with software as well. It's not an entire group movement. There are areas that are being favored more than others. So with this semiconductor, we can see the group, the RSI and MACD, both in positive territory. We talked about NVIDIA. That's going to be very critical, certainly to the group as well as the broader markets. Also of note, IHI, this is the medical products ETF. It did inch back above that 50-day simple moving average. Another growth area that when it gets moving, you want to be aware of it. I did add a name from this group last week as well, actually, and a biotech. So we're in good standing as far as participating with that move into healthcare. Also, I did want to take a look here at TNX. Now, this is that yield on the 10-year Treasury. We want that to be declining with this gap down. That's going to be following the inflation data on Wednesday. And we are seeing it inch up a bit. So we're standing here at 4.4% on the yield for that 10-year. It is a drop from last week. That's the good news. But unfortunately, we are inching higher. We'll be keeping a very close eye on this because as we inch further, if we were, that 4.5 level is really critical as it relates to impacting those growth areas in a negative fashion. So let's go ahead and from here, I do want to share with you a move that really took place today. So let's go ahead and take a look at a daily price chart. This is the iShares Silver Trust, and we can see this gap up. And we are certainly overbought at this point in time. But what I do want to share with you, for those of you that are metals followers, gold has been on the move as well. I just wanted to highlight for you with SLB and silver overall, we are at a point in time with this 28.8 price. We are at a 10-year high. And when you look at this advance that we've had certainly over the last 3 months, we can see historically that the stock can have this predisposition to trend higher. There are a lot of individuals that follow metals that are calling for silver to continue to trade higher. However, certainly it is overbought at this point in time. Now, I mentioned to you real estate, REIT stocks. Let's take a look at a couple of names in that area that certainly are compelling looking by way of their chart. This is Iron Mountain, IRM, and they do data management services. They are AI related, and we can see what took place this week. I'm going to go ahead and mark up this chart because it is exhibiting a gap up into a base breakout. So here we are with this, which took place on Wednesday. We can also see a positive MACD and a positive RSI, nice high volume characteristics on that gap up. So quite interesting there. Also, what you can do if you are looking at REIT stocks, let's take a look at another name here. But as far as examining the group, they're not all participating in this downtrend reversal. Certainly, some of those commercial real estate names are not going to be as compelling. It is going to be residential real estate. So here we are with Apartment Investment and Management, AIB, on the cusp of a potential base breakout here. Not a lot by way of momentum just yet, but certainly a name for the watch list. From here, I did want to take a look at gaps up following earnings because we did have three well-known stocks that experienced gaps up this week. And we're going to take a look at an example, kind of a bellwether name that had a gap up in response to earnings. And it really is textbook as far as the follow-up rally. You're not going to see this type of move often. You will see a gap up into a nice uptrend, but this really was superior. It is Cirrus Logic at CRUS. So a couple of things that when you see this gap up that you want to see that signals that you very well could see further upside. First up is the fact that we did see this gap up into a base breakout. So as we move up, we also got super good high volume characteristics that is often telling you that the stock is under accumulation. From there, we did at this very same time experience that move with that MACD into positive territory coupled with a positive RSI. Now, from here, one other indicator that I will go ahead and add is a 5-day simple moving average. This becomes really quite helpful when a stock really takes off, exhibits outsized momentum, and you can see that that 5-day acts as support. Generally speaking, pullbacks to that 5-day can be 5 points. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of names this week that did have a gap up on earnings. First up here is Walmart. Now, this is, of course, a well-known company. They came out with their numbers earlier this week. Great report. And we're going to go ahead and mark up some of those characteristics. Nice high volume on that gap up. We did see the MACD was just in positive territory, but we have that black line up through the red, which signals a new uptrend. And likewise, that RSI had been hovering up here in positive territory, but a nice sharp uptick there as well. From here, we can go ahead and add that 5-day simple moving average. You will want to pay attention to that RSI. Make sure that we don't get too overbought, but you also want to pay attention to history because this is a stock that can remain overbought, which is when the RSI is above 70, and the stock can continue to advance. So you will want to use this as historical precedence. What will oftentimes occur is the stock may mark time as that 5-day simple moving average catches up to the current price. Let's take a look at another name this week. In fact, today experiencing a gap up on earnings, actually yesterday. And this is Chubb CB. We are seeing nice vibrancy in these insurance stocks. Quite simply, they are raising their rates, as many of us may feel, and are in turn seeing their bottom lines improve. So here we are with that gap up. Nice high volume, not only yesterday, but also today with that follow-on rally as well. We can also take a quick look at the fact that we did get that MACD now in positive territory, which is good news, and also that RSI in positive territory, getting into that overbought. But again, historical precedence tells us that this name can in fact continue to proceed higher despite that high RSI. Last up, let's take a look at MRNA. I talked about biotech stocks on the move. This is a well-known name, Moderna, and we can take a look at their price action this past week. Actually, this had this gap up 2 weeks ago. And what I did want to highlight with this particular example is the fact that in that gap up, we did experience a base breakout, high volume, and you're not always going to see that advance. Oftentimes, the stock may mark time, but as long as that momentum remains in positive territory with this RSI and MACD, you are in good standing all the time as this back and fill formation took place. It is allowing that 5-day to catch up. From here, let's go ahead and take a look at downtrend reversals. And I'm going to begin by sharing with you an example of a downtrend reversal that took place fairly recently. This is another biotech name, TECH. And let's take a look. This downtrend reversal took place at this time on a gap up. And it is known that when a stock closes back above that 50-day simple moving average, that's going to be, for me, the definition of a downtrend reversal, high volume, get those momentum indicators into positive territory, and then in this case, into a nice uptrend. So from here, let's take a look at other examples that are a little earlier in their potential downtrend reversal attempts. First up here is Valero Energy. You can see that we're just inching back above that 50-day simple moving average. For me, it is too early for this stock. We did get that RSI in positive territory, but we're just now getting that MACD crossover. I would like to see the stock close higher above that 50-day to be convinced that we are going to continue to advance higher. And then from here, we talked about software stocks on the move. Here's Okta, and you can see that the stock has advanced back above this 50-day simple moving average. We do have that momentum now in positive territory. Again, this is an area where we are going to see some pretty big earnings reports. First up here is Palo Alto, PANW. They're going to be reporting on Monday. This is a very closely watched software security name, and it is certainly advanced more than what I've been sharing with you already as far as moving back above that 50-day simple moving average. We've already seen that golden cross formation and bullish characteristics. Another downtrend reversal that I am keeping a very close eye on in the semiconductor space. This is Advanced Micro, AMD. You can see that we're finding resistance at that 50-day, but we are seeing nice bullish characteristics. So this for you is a way to put together a watch list. You want to have these names that are in these groups that are beginning to reverse their downtrend. As they continue to do so, you can then potentially participate. Last up, we're going to take a look at a name and what it looks like when that downtrend reversal does not truly materialize. This is INCA. I wonder why the chart looks different. It's because I need to get that 200-day simple moving average back on the chart. And here we are. This is INCY is a biotech name. You can see this gap up on news, and it rallied right up to that 200-day simple moving average, but has not followed through. So while we do have positive momentum indicators, we are still below this key area of possible upside resistance. And one other software name that's due to report their earnings next week, and it is another well-known company that will be closely watched, that is Intuit. And interestingly, similar to the other name I shared with you, we are seeing a rally into the release of their earnings. They're due out on Thursday, but we do have nice bullish momentum in the stock at this point in time. And you want to have that historical precedence as far as the ability to outperform the markets, and Intuit is just that. And that's it for this week. Everyone have a great weekend. If you like what you've seen, go ahead and hit that like button. And as always, any questions you may have, I welcome those as well. See you next Friday.